radicalism continuing to spread in the Middle East. Now there is a general feeling in the Arab world, and certainly in Lebanon, that the Israeli attack went too far. The danger in this Israeli strategy is the fact that the Hezbollah shoots the rockets and shoots the rifles and hides in civilian populations. So almost no matter how measured your response is, if you go after them, you're going to kill other people, some of whom may be their sympathizers and enablers, some of whom we know are just totally innocent bystanders. So I think the only thing I can say to you is I understand why they wanted to degrade their military capacity. I question whether it was worth it to wreck the airport, because the airport was the symbol of the new Lebanon. The Lebanese government is inherently weak. They didn't have the power to shut down Hezbollah's military operations. But what we need now is a pivot to a political strategy that will enable Lebanon to exist as a coherent country, keep the Syrians from dominating it, and figure out how to solve the security problem. The best thing that's come out of this, from my point of view, is for the first time Israel has publicly acknowledged its willingness to accept an international force in the Middle East. I always believed that if the Palestinians and the Israelis made a deal, we'd have to have an international force there, because the more radical elements would turn against both the new Palestinian government and the Israelis. And we'd have about 3 years where things would be uncertain. So my own view is, I'm glad the Secretary of State's out there. I think it's important for us to try to get some sort of ceasefire now. I think it's important for the world to say, well, anybody that thinks the Israelis have overreacted, it's perfectly free to say that, but they also have to say they overreacted to Hezbollah abusing the fact that Israel withdrew from Lebanon and totally violating the United Nations resolution, which called upon them to be disarmed if they were going to be political powers in southern Lebanon. And I think that this idea of an international force needs to be fleshed out. And the biggest problem we got with the international force now is that the only one with enough muscle to really do a good job is NATO. If the UN can sanction NATO, the way NATO is sanctioned in Afghanistan,